Never run
65 more if we really want to do that whole credit sequence.
I do. We are going to follow it through to the T.
I gotta pee.
God damn it.
Megatron must be stopped, no matter the cost.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Autopod Decepticast. This is your weekly podcast that delivers a minute-by-minute breakdown of the 1986 Transformers movie. I need a lot of oxygen for that.
Something new.
No, I just ran out of air. I'm here with my dastardly and devious co-hosts.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Caleb as I twirl my little mustache.
Have you ever tied a helpless woman to train tracks only to be foiled by a clueless Canadian Mountie?
No, usually when I do it, I'm never foiled. I'm successful in my tying her to the tracks. And
So she's murdered
And
by
cuts her fucking legs off.
Yeah, I try to set my goal is to see how many I can tie down before the train shows up, and my record so far is 12.
Oh, so you're trying to get up to a baker's dozen.
Well, yeah. So, like, my goal is to get how many women can I get lined up tied to the track before the train comes. One would think that I would check the train schedule.
However, you just like to do it loosey-goosey.
Whenever I show up to the tracks.
I want to ask about your technique, but I don't at the same time.
What do you mean?
Like, how do you
down?
Like
how
the
do you
logistics of getting
how
12
do you
women to do
snag
anything?
them? And and do you do it side by side by side by
Yes.
side? Do you position them like a quarter mile away from each other?
No, it's side by side.
Oh, of course, the terror is amplified.
No, it's because the time it takes me to walk a quarter of a mile. That's time. That's time. That's time I can be tying down ladies to the tracks.
Of course,
Makes
of
sense.
course,
Idiot.
Of course. Absolutely, I deserve that. So, let's talk about the last episode real quick. Like, Hot Rod and RC, a little bit flirty.
Sexual tension.
Yes, but she recognizes that, but she's not going to act on it.
She doesn't want to go too far.
And what was his reasoning?
He likes her too, but wants to play it cool and collected.
Yeah, right.
Keep it on the DL. Autobots, I think we've learned that they have very little regard for child safety.
Sure. I mean, just Daniel, who knows?
They're almost amused by child endangerment.
It's shocking he has lived this long.
It's like a show on Cybertron could be like the opposite of kids do funny things. It'd be like kids are getting killed. It would be a great show on.
He survives, I will say this.
And then also, Devastator is merged, and the team is preparing to launch some rockets. That's kind of, or actually has launched one rocket, a single. So that's where we are in the movie. So kicking off, I did not say last episode the time of the movie. I just realized, or
the minute?
the minute that we're covering. So I'll just do that right now. We are covering, it's episode 19, so we're covering minute 18 to 19, essentially,
Right.
1801 to 19. And from the previous minute, as we said before, Springer has just launched a rocket that nailed Devastator.
In the back.
Huge explosion.
Whited out the screen.
But when the smoke clears,
Didn't even scratch him.
no damage.
Didn't phase him at all. He was still doing what he was doing, which is wrecking
So,
that turret,
rocket number
beating the
2.
wall
Yeah.
down.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
So yeah, Devastator continues to rip up the wall.
And this is right here, pause. That's a bombshell that goes flying off to the right there, so maybe that's where his damage comes from.
Bombshell's still around. So the team fires more rockets, more of a rapid progression, really. They get a
Oh
couple
yeah, I
off
forgot there
here.
was a third rocket.
And Devastator
Throws the wall that he tore off.
rips a chunk
At
of the wall,
1810, throws it at
the bunker,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll call that a direct hit.
Yeah.
Yep, and I think you have a point here.
Yes,
Aaron?
sorry.
Where was Daniel still in the
I think
window?
that's what
Yeah,
the
that's
point
my-
was.
Oh.
That's I think that, where's Daniel? He was at the opening of the bunker, as we discussed
Yeah.
last episode. Child endangerment laws not in place in
Whoa.
Autobot City.
Okay.
if the rockets, if the flames and sparks from the rockets didn't injure him or
burn
kill
his
him,
goddamn face off,
or knock him off the ladder to his untimely death, he should be dead right now. And you don't see him on screen.
Nope.
No.
You got Cup, you got RC, you got Hot, you got Springer.
Let's go back. Let's see if they just happen to have Daniel still in the show.
No,
It's not.
well, hang on.
I don't think you even see it necessarily.
I mean, Daniel's dead. Daniel's dead.
Yeah,
Daniel's
that's
dead.
for sure.
They should have his body just over here, off to the side.
Anybody wants to
18,
also
Jesus.
animate that at
Christ.
1811.
at 1811.
So you're right.
Daniel
He's-
bloodily flying.
He's dead.
He's not on the ground as far as I
He
can
was
tell.
up looking out the window.
Unless one of them had any spark of responsibility and said, "Hey, Daniel, get down there and go over here behind us."
No, he's dead.
I also this is interesting too because the whole catapult thing. Well, that was pointless.
Well,
that didn't.
They got 3 shots in, all that effort.
And I think it's. I mean, this movie's brave enough to show you that not everything works, and you'll probably just fail.
And so, okay, great. Daniel killed in the face the way the way he deserves it, as far as I'm concerned. The next sequence we see some. Well, first of all, I guess I just to put the lid on that trash can. I love, even though the animation's not that great, I think that's still a well drawn and well done sequence in terms of just the angle. I mean, everything's animated. Everything in that room is animated. There's no background part, so everything's just falling apart. So that's really cool. So now at 1814, we are fighting outside the city. We see Perceptor and Grapple, who we haven't seen up until this point. And do you believe that Grapple was supposed to be a Constructicon?
I can't remember if it's Grapple or Hoist.
Hoist the green.
No, I think it maybe is Grapple. I don't know. I was down several rabbit holes at that point and 7 martinis in.
Maybe they realized they had Hook and they were like, we don't really need Grapple.
Yeah, this is really doubling up.
Exactly. And so anyway, the great sequence of them fighting outside the city, great lighting effects.
Yep.
I'm trying to go in slow-mo here because right here, we've got Grapple and Perceptor, but another Autobot walks forward, and you don't see who it is. Can you guys guess who this is?
I think it's Swoop.
Yep. It is an animation
At
error.
1817.
You guys are...
There is no indication. I did look up animation models of Swoop to
Well, I
confirm
had the
this.
toy, and that's his feet that come down, and
exactly.
right there we're seeing Swoop's knees at 1817.
Right off, I suspected it was Swoop, and then I looked to check and make sure. But yeah, even the paneling on the front of the calf and on the side, it's fucking Swoop.
Caleb's
Hey,
eyes are
Caleb,
so
we're digging
wide.
deep into this.
You guys are fucking geeks.
So somehow Swoop got on Earth and
Yeah.
is fighting this war, and so this is a cool sequence in that we're kind of outside the city and we're just sort of seeing there's other stuff going on in the whole Devastator thing, and you kind of see the battle rage on. I don't know if you'd call it a time lapse.
I don't know how
No.
lasers.
This is not a time lapse. There's
Well,
some
look,
bullets.
though. I mean,
well, there, yeah. Then
right, sure.
they
At 1828, into dawn.
They fade to dawn, which the Autobot City is jacked at this point.
Yeah,
There's like
the stuff in the water.
There's stuff floating in the moat.
And I can only assume they're not firing lasers because they arc, so they must be some kind of white-hot projectiles.
Well, so that kind of imagery is actually based on reality, where in night fighting, particularly back in the early to mid 20th century, when you're fighting at night, so that you know where.
Incendiary rounds, yeah.
Yeah, I apologize for insulting your intelligence.
No, it's
but
fine. But
so
yeah,
I don't know what incendiary rounds are, guys.
they're basically white phosphorus, I believe, rounds that when they shoot out, they catch on fire, and so you can see where you're shooting.
So and they space them out. If you've
It's like every third shot.
every third shot, so that as you're shooting, you can see where you're.
Helps you target.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly right. Now, also, unfortunately, it helps identify your location.
That's right. Yeah.
So, but I guess that the pros outweigh the cons. I guess.
Sometimes.
Well, I guess
Sometimes
when
you
you're
win,
dealing with
sometimes you
lasers or not lasers or high bolts or plasma or whatever these guys are
Railguns,
shooting,
but the way that
it's all lit up anyway.
Right, but the way that they were displaying that is
Yeah,
probably based on footage of combat where there's a lot of incendiary rounds being
That's
used.
interesting. I didn't know that was a thing. Like I've seen footage of being able to trace
if you can see
ammo at night. I just figured it was because it was so hot. Like the ammo was hot, and so you could see it. I didn't know that was a special kind of round.
I used to think that too, but I found that they were intentionally lighting those up.
Learning is great.
Ding.
So the city is smoldering, and night has turned to day, and we're gonna see Megatron here at about 1833. Well, you don't see Megatron. I'm sorry. You hear Megatron say that their defenses are broken. Let the slaughter begin.
And then Devastator tears through a wall.
Like they tore into the ship, the Autobot shuttle.
I'm assuming that was exploded into, but
since it was a bomb.
Why didn't they just have?
Why are you guys giving me such a hard time?
Never mind. I'm going to stop doing that. Why didn't we just? No, I'm not going to stop doing that. Who am I kidding? I also, before we get into this too much, I like how those 20 Decepticons somehow destroyed all 450 of the cannons
yeah, that's right.
in the city, just to revisit an old chestnut there.
Bringing it all around.
So Devastator rips open the walls of the city. And I love that animated sequence, by the way.
Where he falls forward,
I think the producers of this movie love that sequence because I'm pretty sure I saw that used in several sort of promos and just other things that weren't even associated with the movie. They would attach like toy commercials or whatever. They would use that little bit of footage. But so and then Megatron takes aim. Another great angle.
Great angle. Like the theatrical angles that they have here. Like everything at 1837 skews back to a specific point of foreshortening. Like Megatron's arm and even the background is skewed down to a point, and it's just like it's a great dynamic.
They're matching the foreshortening of the animated character is matching the foreshortening of the painted background.
It might be serendipitous, but I like to think they did it on purpose.
Hey, that's perspective, guys.
I'm sure
Art 101.
I'm sure they were conscious of it, making sense in layout.
And then so like this next part, literally when I watch it gives me chills. Like I just seeing the shuttle coming into the frame.
It is like just in time, guys. Just in time. So
it's the cavalry arrives with 5 or 6 Autobots, depending on what you believe. Because
you'd think they would have brought a bigger regiment, but as we get into it here, so
it's all the more.
Megatron takes a look. He sees an Autobot shuttle, unlike the one we saw at the start of the movie. And from the interior, we see Optimus Prime, Sunstreaker, and the Dinobots. So before we get into too much real quick, any problems you guys have with this?
Anything?
Let me see. No, let me see what you're talking about here.
Anything in the
if you haven't spotted it by now, you're not going to.
Right quarter area. Here's the problem. And
1841.
It takes a memory.
I don't see it.
It takes memory of the past.
Is it the same painting of an Autobot base or something?
No.
All right, tell me what it is.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Well, Sunstreaker has previously been shown already on Earth, helping with the roadblock with Cup.
Oh.
So this is another situation of jumping back and forth to Earth and Cybertron.
Yeah.
And he's very prominently piloting the shuttle.
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe that's why they're so late. I know why they're late, because based on previous experience watching them, Optimus. A communication has come, basically the chain of receiving the signal passed through Jazz.
Yeah, well, also, they had to wait for Sunstreaker because he had the keys.
Yeah, so it passed through the communication went through 3 people before it got to Optimus, and then Optimus comes back through and asks what's going on, and then it goes back through, and no wonder there's so
long email.
I'm sure it was a painful
So
process.
Another thing is we don't know where Cybertron or the moons are in relation to Earth at this point. But if Sunstreaker has the ability to, I guess, travel via teleportation way faster than the speed of light, well, why did Blaster send his sound waves? Let's travel at the speed of sound.
It's obviously a problem.
It's all a problem. So Sunstreaker.
Also,
my biggest problem is that there's only 6 guys coming to
that. But it's the Dinobots.
That's true. They're very powerful.
The Dinobots are powerful, man.
Also, though, to the Dinobots, now nobody's manning that munitions factory.
Well, but okay, so to that, we're missing one Dinobot.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I think it is Snarl. Hang on a second.
I believe so.
I'm going to go ahead and say Snarl. I'll say the Stegosaurus in case Snarl isn't the right name.
I think you're right.
So they must have left him back at the plant to keep making weapons.
That thing is definitely not
on
going
his own.
smoothly.
So Optimus orders them to destroy Devastator. Grimlock's like, no problem. And
I like it too because they have like a history, the Dinobots and Devastator tangling.
That's true, yeah. And that makes sense in the context of where the show was, at least by the time they started animating this movie. They might have just wrapped up animating that sequence to set up that maybe these guys are rivals of some sort. But the Dinobots jump off the ship. I do like this sequence. We were debating it earlier. Are the Dinobots flying or gliding? You'd think that, I mean, they all sort of have wings.
It's at 1851, 52. But I mean,
They all do sort of have.
it doesn't matter whether they're flying or gliding because they can.
They're still 4-ton beings.
Well, that, but also they can fly because in the show before the movie they're shown flying.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're given the gift of flight by Wheeljack.
Yeah, I guess.
No, by Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior.
That's right, R.I.P. I don't know why the Dinobots can fly and nobody else can, but yeah, I think even in SOS it is in SOS Dinobots, their first appearance, they fly.
Okay. All right. Didn't know that.
Yep.
Don't
I've
remember.
watched that video. I have it on cassette, like VHS, and I've watched it probably 100 times.
So they're soaring over the landscape, and it is really cool to watch this thing in this regimented way that we do, because there's just things I never, like, I mean, we were a kid when we watched it, so you take a lot of things for granted, but the way that they're soaring over the landscape, like this could be the same landscape that Hot Rod and Cup were driving through, and then they get over the mountain, the city rises up in the background, and then they're flying down upon the city. Grimlock gives an order for them to transform. I guess they're just more powerful, and that's it.
What I thought.
And then the next sequence, you see Grimlock on his own, about
Soaring
to
down
land
toward
on.
Devastator.
Oh no, wait! I'm sorry, we're not there yet.
We've surpassed the minute.
Devastator comes up. He looks. I can't tell if Devastator's look is one of
I think it's
concern or just ready to rumble.
I
It
think
looks
it's
like surprise.
It's surprise. Yeah, it's definitely surprise. Like, here we go.
I didn't know you guys. It is true. I guess these reinforcements are supposed to be somewhat of a surprise.
There he is. Oh, that's definitely surprise.
Okay, all right, and then
That's it.
Grimlock is coming down upon Devastator.
Okay.
So here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that Grimlock's flying down from the sky. No doubt an awe-inspiring attack is about to happen that will immediately debilitate and destroy Devastator, ending the war. Movie over.
Are you going to do this every episode?
Every episode we have a moment like this.
I
Yes,
see a
I will.
cliffhanger.
Yeah.
All right.
Nope. Okay.
Nope.
All right. Well, thanks.
I'm not engaged.
Thanks for talking. One thing before we go into anything else that I'd like to talk about. I didn't know that Autobot City had a moat until watching this episode. Even the previous episode you mentioned,
I
there's
talk
a moat.
about it.
Or no, I think it was this. Yeah, you talked about it earlier. And I just
I got
a
it.
moat. I wish they had a crocodile kind of floating.
I didn't
around
think it was a moat. I had like a jungle safari at Disneyland. I didn't think it was a moat as much as that was part of the hydrodynamic plant.
It is totally. It's got to be. But I just.
But there are bridges that go over it, presumably, like in.
They try-
in Hot
yeah.
Rod.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
They had that bridge.
Yeah, they
All right. Well, I'm just a dummy.
Nah. Well.
No, you're not. You're
well,
not a dummy.
Well.
Okay. Let's do. Okay. Well, what do we want to do first? Voice actors or script deviations?
Let's do the voice actors.
Okay. All right. Do you have anything? Or you
Nope.
Just want me to,
I just wanted to hear what you have.
One that I will. Let me see if I've got the characters on the other side of the curtain here. But I'm just going to mention this for content purposes. He doesn't actually have a line in the movie, and so I won't spend a lot of time on it. But a gentleman by the name of Peter Renaday, apologies if that's mispronounced, did Grapple. Grapple is the guy that maybe was going to be a Constructicon.
Maybe, yeah.
We don't know. And he was a great utility player, is a great utility player over film, television, and video games. And his most famous ongoing role is that of Master Splinter from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So he didn't have a line in this movie, but in the general G1 cartoon canon, he is a guy that was around and his character's on screen. But the big one for this particular segment, and just big one in general. Gregg Berger was the voice of Grimlock and also Skyfire, and also Long Haul. And I don't know if you guys remember a rather minor character named Outback. He was the Australian.
Oh, no rules, just right. That was his catchphrase.
Is it really?
No, it's a commercial. Steakhouse.
Damn it! That's a knife.
That's not a knife.
No knife.
That's not a Decepticon.
What kind of Australian references can we fit in this?
You're doing more
No,
Michael
no,
Caine.
I'm
that's
doing
not-
Michael Caine as the Australian in Dirty Rotten
The
Scoundrels.
size of a tangerine.
Put some shrimp on the barbie.
Oh, that's right.
He was an Australian in
that's
Dirty
right.
Rotten
That's true.
Scoundrels. All right, at the end.
Unfortunately,
big reveal.
he is a mute.
I haven't seen that movie in a while.
Let's watch that movie.
Let's watch it right now. You've got to leave
Let's
it
do a
for.
podcast
We're going
about
to
that
keep you
movie.
late. Gregg Berger it has got a lot of credits to his name. Another interesting point of trivia is that sometimes he substitutes for Peter Cullen as the voice of Eeyore in various media, just as a side note. So maybe if Peter Cullen, God forbid, ever
Ties.
meets his maker, maybe Gregg Berger will be the guy that takes over Optimus Prime.
never happen.
That's conjecture. He has quoted that he prefers characters that think before they act, but Grimlock is still a favorite character of his. Grimlock's New Brain, do you remember that episode?
Yeah, where he
Season
becomes a
3?
genius. He builds what the Computron.
The Technobots.
Technobots. That's it.
He essentially used his Skyfire voice for that character, which Skyfire was never around in Season 3. I think they quit using Skyfire for copyright purposes.
Because
That
it was
always
just a copy of another.
It was always a
vehicle,
litigious character that they included. But his other majorly iconic role outside of Transformers is, this is going to be a weird one, guys. He
Porn.
always did Odie, the voice of Odie in the Garfield cartoon franchise.
I mean, there's no voice; it's just sounds. But
Barking.
Barking, yeah. He has a few. He has lots of credits to his name, as all of the voice actors we look at do. But on screen, one that was really interesting to me was that he was in the movie Police Academy: Mission to Moscow.
oh boy, what number
I've
is that?
never
one?
heard of that
I
one.
don't remember.
It was a late era Police Academy.
Was
movie.
it after the
Academy
fall of
7.
communism?
Probably. Well, it was. Yeah, we were getting along, so probably.
It's post
I don't
Rocky
know.
4.
It post head of the class episode.
That's right, where they went to Mexico Mexico. Oh, what have I become?
No,
Mix a USSR.
That's right, Moscow.
none of that happened. Okay.
He was one of the cops that was one of the Russian trainee cops that the U.S. Police Academy guys.
I
Why
don't
would
think
they
I-
hire those bozos to go
I don't
to
think I ever
Russia?
saw that one.
Garfield, Simpsons, Powerpuff Girls, Spider-Man, G.I. Joe, Batman, all of the
All the hits.
Those are all ones that a lot of these cats cross over into. Video games, Grand Theft Auto franchise, Monkey Island. He's been in some Final Fantasy stuff, Metal Gear Solid stuff, any Transformer game that basically has Grimlock in it, he does it. So that is Gregg Berger. He does cons all the time. He's kind of a con staple, and so there's lots of opportunity to hear him do his thing.
I'm sure, which is probably all the time is a do the voice. I mean, it must be all these guys. Like that's all anybody wants is like just do some extemporaneous stuff in the.
You're
voice.
at a Transformers convention,
right? So you know that. Well, you know what's up.
Hey, would you do Odie? Greg, I know we're at a Transformers convention, but what I want to hear is fucking Odie.
Fuck you.
So, let's go into our favorite segment of the show. Rip deviations.
You have any?
I do, but you go for it.
Okay.
You'll probably have what I have.
That's possible. I mean, these are kind of all over the place, but in the script I have, it doesn't show up until the Dinobots show up, but it's kind of interspersed. There is a part where there is one line that Springer says where he says, "I got better things to do tonight than die." The line in the script is, "Let's make sure he can't take advantage of it." Talking about Megatron, and I'm like, well, I'm glad they punched that up.
By deleting it entirely.
That's right. Let's just leave that out. And then inside the screen, whenever Devastator is punching the wall, it goes to Ultra Magnus, and he says to Wheeljack, "Devastator's almost reached our inner defense membrane," which is a weird Why?
It makes me sad to know that in a version of this script, Wheeljack was still alive.
Yeah.
But he had that zoo of Predacons or Autobots to. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Go on.
Oh, wow.
Because the Ultra Magus says to initiate Dragon Beast, which is where the Anabots use their combiner mode to form a giant dragon, which is a mechano-like beast which breathes lightning bolts, which emerge from its maw like the stylized ocean waves in a Japanese print.
So, okay, we know that the only reason, well, I don't know if it's the only reason, the main reason Autobot Combiners Superion Defensor aren't in this movie is because this movie was being produced concurrently with the television show, and the writers and producers of this movie had, they didn't get the memo that was happening, I guess, or just whatever.
Scramble
It's
City.
whatever happened. So in the interim, they created this totally whacked out, crazy combiner to compete with Devastator. And anyway, it's just wild that they created the most psychedelic nutballs.
It's really
combiner.
out there.
Meanwhile, the guys doing the TV show create they're basic combiners.
It's
Yeah,
just,
but
they're not trying to reinvent the wheel.
There's a lot of baggage with the how the lightning is coming out. How do you say how it's coming out of the mountain?
From his mouth, like stylized ocean waves in a Japanese print. You know,
Okay,
those jagged edges.
Right, the famous Japanese print is.
Isn't it called the wave? Or?
It's by an artist called Hokusai. And Hokusai did like a series of these stylized waves. He was a very famous Japanese artist back in the 19th century. Wave painting has a lot of importance in Japanese culture because when the Mongolian Empire tried to invade Japan, there was a divine wind known as kamikaze. That sunk them and crippled the Mongolian fleet and prevented the Mongolians from invading and taking Japan as part of the Mongolian Empire. I wonder if there's any baggage or any kind of.
I can't imagine.
Am I reading it?
I can't imagine Ron Freeman knows that.
Okay, I'm reading into it.
But that's interesting. Like that's really I didn't know that.
But the
all.
artist for that famous series of paintings he's called Hokusai. Awesome dude. You should check it out.
Yeah, no, I love those paintings.
It doesn't seem inconceivable to me that Ron Friedman would be the type of guy that would know that. All these toys have Japanese heritage in their previous storylines, so it seems like. He's an inquisitive guy. He's no dummy.
Could be.
He's kind of the
whenever he
Stanley
comes on
of
the show.
Transformers.
Whenever he comes on the show,
all
these are going to be talking
we'll
points.
grill him on Hokusai.
And so that is they grapple like it says Dragon Beast will annihilate Devastator. There's like 20 IAs here. So they just start scrapping, and then that's when Prime's shuttle comes down, and the Dinobots are released, and then the next big deviation I have will be the next episode.
So, well, I'm looking forward to that because I'm hypothesizing in my head that it's Dragon Beast plus Dinobots versus Devastator versus what we got on screen. That seems so much more epic. The only thing that I have that you didn't cover is that at some point Devastator must have torn into the pillbox that Hot Rod and the group are in because the script I have indicates that he grabs Hot Rod and Cup and has both of them in his hands and is crushing them. And it isn't until the Dinobots show up, and also the Dinobots, once they leave the ship, they are firing on Devastator in robot mode, and then they transform into their Dinobot modes, and then ultimately engage him in more hand-to-hand style combat. But it isn't until that happens that then Devastator just, he's shaking a little bit, and he releases Hot Rod and Cup.
It's interesting it would take that long, considering what he made of that cannon with one just like squeeze of his fist.
I know. Anything else?
No, that's all I have.
I got nothing.
Do you guys have any thank yous? I didn't have any.
Oh,
not that this is a place to put it. Shouts out.
No, I don't.
Okay. Right.
Well, if we have any, we'll put them at the top of the next episode.
There's none. I did some research. There was no new
Okay.
iTunes stuff, at least. Okay. All right, guys. Next episode. Shit's gonna get real. We know who's back in town. The boys.
The boys are back.
Here's the deal. Megatron must be stopped.
No matter the cost.
A couple other things. We've got the touch. It's gonna be a big episode,
yeah,
guys.
it is. This is where, like,
Wow.
this is where it gets heavy. It starts getting heavy.
Wow.
A bunch of cons are gonna get bonked.
Awesome.
Well, thank you for listening, everybody. Please tell your friends. We're on iTunes, we're on Stitcher, Google Play, and TuneIn.
We have Facebook presence, Twitter presence,
Yeah.
Instagram presence,
All at
Christmas presents, anniversary presents,
Birthday presents.
All at Apod Decast.
That's right.
And you forgot about the most important presence. Our web presence. You piece of dog shit. That Apod Decast. Wait, no. God damn it.
Oh, it's now. The onus is back on you.
Now the dog shit turd becomes the dog shit tea.
Autopod Decepticast.com. iTunes users. Rate us.
Please. 5
And
stars.
tell your friends, because we want to be more popular than we are right now. Cut this shit right out. Cut this shit out all the time.
Thank you for listening, everybody.
Idiots. Cut the shit
Thank
out.
you. It's been a great
Cut
time.
it out. Cut it out. I'm done. No, go ahead and wrap it up.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for listening.
Thanks, guys. See you next time.
Get the fuck out of here.
Cybertron!
I worked from home last Thursday, and usually when I work from home, I watch horror movies on Shudder that I can cast to my TV. And I watched one called Deathbed, the bed that brings death, or something like that. It's Deathbed from 1976, and it's a bed that eats people. And it ate this guy's hands into skeletal hands, but they're still on him, and he seems fine.
Yeah, it seems pretty cool about it. It ate everything off of his hands.
Yes, and it is bizarre. That's
He can move the hands?
No, he can't move the hands.
So it ate everything except for
Like the cartilage.
cartilage that holds them all together.
Which eventually does start to break down and his hands fall apart.
It actually does do that.
Yeah. This movie is so weird. It is like a visual poem. Almost everything is done in voiceover. Like, it's dialogue and voiceover, which I think, honestly, is because they couldn't get it to sync up.
Oh, yeah.
So they just had to go back and ADR everything.
So how does this bed move around?
Nope. It basically
Stays in the same room?
Yeah, and basically, like, one of the people, the narrator essentially in it is this guy who had consumption and was dying in the bed, and the bed, I guess, didn't want to eat him because he was diseased or something, so it just put him behind one of his paintings, like trapped him behind one of his paintings.
What do you mean?
I don't know. He was just in a little crawl space forever behind the painting. Like,
How does it do that?
I don't know.
How does it move?
It was built by a demon who killed a woman and dripped the blood onto the bed, and so now it's a demonic bed, and then it's
How does
weird.
it eat people exactly?
It dissolves them, basically. Like, this foam comes up and they go down into this amber liquid.
So it's like digestive.
But there's also
fluids.
chomping noises.
Like,
Yes, it's fucking weird. I'm not sorry I watched it, but it feels like about 2 hours. It's an 82-minute movie. And I'm like, you couldn't even eke it out to the 90-minute mark. I think a lot of why it's so slow and weird is they filmed the movie and they're like, oh fuck, we have 40 minutes of footage. So there's a 3-minute scene of a woman crawling away from the bed just to have the bed whip out a sheet and pull her back. I'm like, god damn, we could have skipped all this.
I'm assuming you knew this was
disturbing.
going to be bad going
Yeah.
in. Okay.
Yeah. There's a lot of those. There's like, it's not one that I'd
do they
rewatch.
destroy the bed? Does the bed
Yeah,
beat the bed?
it gets destroyed. Okay, well.
How do they beat the bed?
Basically, once every 10 years, the demon goes to sleep for like an hour, it seems.
In the bed?
No, just in a tree. You never see the demon, you just see eyes floating.
So the demon doesn't sleep in its bed that it made?
No.
It sleeps in a tree.
It sleeps in a tree. Once every 10 years.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. It doesn't
So
sleep
wait, is the demon the bed? Are they
No,
linked? Or the
they're
demon
linked.
casts a spell on the bed and the bed doesn't
I think
fit
it was unintentional to make the bed.
Is the bed sentient?
Yes.
Okay. It's
Why
like
does
his
the
pet.
demon? What's the benefit the demon gets from having?
You
a
don't
bed?
find out about the demon until halfway into the movie, by the way. That's not made clear until halfway
You
in.
only see its eyes.
Yeah, and
How do you know it sleeps in a tree?
Because the narrator tells you all this. It's all this. It's all just exposition. Like almost the whole movie is exposition, just a data dump. And then all of a sudden, like the guy goes, "Oh, the demon's asleep. I can talk from beyond my painting." And then they destroy the bed. No, it's not that.
What has more? What's the name of this movie?
It's like Deathbed, the bed that eats death, or something like that. There's
What's got more exposition, Deathbed or Scramble City?
Oof, that would be a close one. Yeah, that'd be a tight race.
The Autobots are a good race of robots from Cybertron. In case you didn't know, we're going to talk about that.
Now the
for 10 more
Decepticons have
minutes.
figured out that they've built Scramble City.
Do you guys want to do this thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.